It's October, the month of horror, the month of Halloween, so you know what we gotta talk about, Victorious. In a few weeks. Every time I'm in the street, I Hey guys, you want a story? I'll give you a story, a ninja story. Welcome back to the Ninja Story. If you're a female, sorry that I called you a guy. Welcome to my channel. And guess what? It is October, so what I'm going to do for October is just talk about horror movies. Now, I want to bring back, or not bring back, but I want to do a one-off, maybe, of a series that I used to do in the past that I think I haven't done in maybe a year. These are called QMMRs. So pretty much, this is kind of similar to Chris Stuckman's type of reviews, or just a bunch of movies that I'm going to cram into one video, but I'm going to do a review for each, but they're going to be mini reviews. So I'm not going to go super in depth. I'm just going to talk about why I like it sometimes, and just, give my general thoughts about it. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to do a top 5 favorite horror movies throughout this month, and I'm going to do a review for each of those movies, and those are going to be like the actual reviews that I usually do. But there are so many horror movies that I love that I just want to talk about a lot of horror movies. So what I'm going to do is I have 8 here, and I'm going to consider these the honorable mentions, quote unquote. So I'm going to be able to talk about some horror movies that are not going to be on my list, but, I still love a lot of these. So, let's get to it. By the way, there are so many other horror movies that I love that aren't going to be on here. There are way too many to name, but these are just the ones that came to my mind immediately. So, let's just get right into it. So, the first movie I'm going to talk about is maybe the most popular horror movie, at least for my generation. The horror movie that I feel like most of us know, and that is It, 2017, starring Pennywise the Dancing Clown. This is a great horror movie, and I mean that. All the children in the movie, the child performances, every single one across the board are phenomenal. There's not really a single, I guess, weak link in the weak link. I said weak link. There's not a single weak link in this whole cast. I mean, like chapter 2, yeah, it was a little bit diminishing, but still the essence of the characters were still there, and it's all because of how the children in this movie played these characters. They were great across the board. Finn Wolfhard, I mean, all of them across the board, great. Fantastic. Pennywise. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise is scary. He is terrifying, and I'm not one that gets scared a lot by jump scares. Well, in real life I will, but in horror movies I kind of find them predictable most of the time and all that kind of stuff. But if you can execute a really well done jump scare, yeah, I'm gonna jump a little bit. There are some good ones in this movie. For example, the camera scene is great, and the refrigerator scene, while not a jump scare, is kind of unsettling. He's just twisting his body all over the place. Bill Skarsgård is a great actor, and he does great with this role. And I mean, a lot of people, I guess, connect him to Pennywise now. So, good job, Bill Skarsgård. Overall, just a really, really, really good horror movie for our generation. It has scares, it has entertainment, it has a little bit of story to it. Progressing the story, not a little bit of story. And my favorite part about this movie is that, yes, there's going to be the slow moments, like the characters talking, but it's always about the plot. It's always about Pennywise or what they're afraid of. It never tries to even set up a sequel besides the ending when it says chapter 1. It really doesn't even try to set it up. It just tries to be its own movie, talking about everything that's happening in the movie, all this kind of stuff, with some side jokes. Obviously, these kids are funny. So, overall, really fun movie. I'm going to give it 2017 an A-. Next up is going to be a movie that I am going to talk about on a podcast on Rashawn's talk show, and that is the Blair Witch Project. So I think in a few weeks, or I'm not sure when it's going to get released. I did a Halloween podcast with Rashawn and the people over on GeekTunes channel. I forget their. It is like Geek Tunes or Airheads or something like that. Airheads. They're Geek Tunes podcasts. And we did a Halloween special, and we decided to talk about one horror entertainment project that we like, and I chose the Blair Witch Project. So if you want to see like an in-depth review of the Blair Witch Project, well, not in-depth, but like, talking about the background and all that kind of stuff, and just like my more thoughts than I can give you in this, go watch that podcast when it gets released. I might link it down below once it gets released, or I might put an I. We'll see. But just really quickly, performances are great. And while you can find the characters annoying, they have to be to set up that this is a real thing that happened. Because this is a found footage movie. The scares are great. The tension is phenomenal. It's a very unsettling movie, and the fact that it's based in realism makes it more unsettling and more nerve-wracking than what it would be if it was, just a regular teen horror movie. So, I love the Blair Witch Project. I'm going to give it, again, an A-. Next up, it was so close to being in my top 5. My number 5 and this movie can be swapped, but I gotta put one of them here, so I decided to go with this one. Next up is It Follows. This movie is an A+, and I'm saying that right now because this movie is fantastic. It's clever. It's actually relevant to today. It's unsettling. It's actually very vague. It's suspenseful. It actually is scary at points. And it's such a good social commentary on how we just take some certain stuff for granted and just say like, oh, this type of stuff, I don't want to get demonetized. This type of stuff, it kind of releases us from, like, just releases our body or just makes us feel a lot less stress, or we use this as something just if we're feeling down or something like that, instead of actually really thinking about what we're doing. And it's great on that level. It's a perfect horror movie, one of the best. It there are scares. There isn't a phenomenal scare with a tall man. Just overall a very, very amazing movie. So again, I'm giving this an A+. And I'm trying not to give away spoilers for any of these movies. So, next up is going to be the first M. Night Shyamalan movie on this list. There are two. First one, The Sixth Sense. Now, this is a very well-known horror movie, or just a very well-known movie in general, and for obvious reasons. I mean, I See Dead People is one of the most infamous horror lines of all time. The twist ending, which I'm not going to spoil, is again one of the greatest twists in cinema history. And then you just got just amazing performances across the board. The children, again, great. The main characters, all very, very well done. Everyone in this movie does a great job at just setting up how unsettling this movie's gonna be. And then once we get to the twist ending and you realize, oh my god, then when you go back, everything makes sense. And that's what a twist should be. This is not a perfect movie, but it's a very good one. I'm going to give The Sixth Sense an A-. Next up, and I'm not going to do the second one yet, we have 4 more movies, I believe. Next up, a great horror movie, Ready or Not. So this is a pretty recent film. I think it came out last year, which in COVID times is 27,469 years ago. That made no sense, but whatever. So pretty much this is just hide and seek but murder. Just to put it, there's your synopsis. Hide and seek but murder people. And again, this is a great movie. I mean, Samara Weaving makes this movie, and Samara Weaving, she's in The Babysitter, she's in Bill and Ted Face the Music. I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe she's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but don't quote me on that. She's great in this film, and she's really great in every single film that she's in, but in this one, wow, she's phenomenal. I mean, she sells her character so well. She seems like a great heroine. Heroine. I came out wrong. There's gonna be a lot of bloopers. Um, it's just a very entertaining, a fun movie. Suspenseful, yeah, but fun, lighthearted. There's a lot of comedy in this movie. I would consider this more of a horror comedy than a just scary horror movie. Definitely more of a horror comedy. But again, great movie. There are a few things that isn't the greatest, but if we look at last year, I believe this is one of the best horror movies from last year. So, very good movie. I would highly recommend it. But it does have a few problems I'm not going to get into, so I'm going to give this a B+. Next up is a horror movie that not a lot of people consider a horror movie, but it actually is a horror movie, and I'm going to talk about it now. It is a pretty well-known movie called Gremlins. Or do you guys say Gremlins or Gremlins? Because I say Gremlins. Filler. So, uh, this movie actually aged okayly. Uh, I'm not sure if that's a word. The special effects and the animatronics, I think they are. It it obviously does look a little bit fake. I can't lie, but I think what wins me over is the voice acting, the heart of this movie, just the essence of Gremlins is just perfect. I mean, it's just a very lighthearted movie with comedy. There is good, like, suspenseful horror in this movie, but it's a movie that you can watch with the family, and yeah, the little one might get scared, but they're gonna want to watch it over and over again because it just pulls you in. It keeps you intrigued throughout the whole movie, and that's what a horror movie like this should be. So, Gremlins, it is a Christmas movie. It actually is a Christmas movie. It's a Christmas horror movie, but it's one of the best. Easily. Great movie. I'm going to give Gremlins an B+. I was gonna give it an A-, but not yet. Alright, so we have two more movies, and I'm gonna do this first one. So this is the second M. Night Shyamalan movie on this list, and that is Unbreakable. Now, this is one of my most underrated movies of all time, and I mean that, of all time. This is pretty much a superhero movie in disguise, which is just insane to think about that it this movie came out, I believe, in 2000 or maybe 2001. Don't It's somewhere around there. It's like early 2000s. Um and it's a superhero movie. Imagine Unbreakable in 2019. Everyone would be like, "Oh wow, this is a very fresh take on this movie. Oh, cool. Not the average superhero movie that we see every day." But when you see this in like 2000, 2001 or whatever, and we didn't even get you didn't even get the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. All you really had was like the Batman films. And I don't think the X-Men films even came out at that time. I think the Batman, Superman, and maybe Daredevil. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe Blade. But, like, not a lot of very well-known superheroes had gotten onto the big screen, and yet we got this movie. The performances across the board, fantastic. Bruce Willis, fantastic. Samuel L. Jackson, incredible. The twist ending, amazing. I don't think it... Uh, there's this one thing that I hate about this movie, and it's not the movie itself, it's the people that talk about this movie. It's the people that compare this twist ending to the one from Sixth Sense just because it's the same director. It's like, oh, he did an amazing twist ending in Sixth Sense, and he didn't do an amazing one in the Unbreakable. So this movie is so much worse than Sixth Sense because of the ending. What? I actually consider this movie a lot better than the Sixth Sense. I'm not gonna even lie to you. I love this movie. I'm being so serious. I highly recommend this movie. It has one of my favorite fight scenes ever. Let's just go with that. So I'm gonna give this is actually more of a thriller than a horror movie, but I consider it that. So I'm gonna give Unbreakable an A. And finally, the classic and the one that fits the best with this month. Halloween, everybody. Let out a scream. Yes, it's Halloween. If you got that reference, you are an OG. So, Michael Myers, at his finest. I think this is the best Halloween movie, easily. It isn't a perfect movie. There are a few characters in this movie that are just sex objects, let's be serious, and just the annoying ones, and just very cliched, and their script is horrible, and their acting is bad. It's a 1978 movie. This is very 1978. But Michael Myers, Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, I forget who plays. Oh my god, it's gonna bug me. It's gonna bug me. Um, but it's a classic horror movie. I don't think it's that horrifying, but it's a classic, no doubt. I mean, Michael Myers is just, he's imprinted into cinema now, and it's all because of this movie. Amazing across the board. Donald Pleasant, that's his name. Samuel Loomis. Dr. Loomis. One of my absolute favorite performances in horror. Honestly, great. And John Carpenter's theme, one of the best. This is one of the best horror movies. I think it's not an incredible movie. It is obviously an incredible movie, but I don't think it's perfection. There are just a few tiny flaws, but overall, one of the best one of the best openers in cinema history. One of the best final girls in horror history, one of the best villains, or one of the best horror characters, one of the best performances in horror. You can't go wrong with Halloween. It's a classic. I'm gonna give Halloween an A minus. Alright, so those are the honorable mentions for this list. Now, if you guys are questioning like a bunch of other horror movies, I'm only doing the ones that I've actually watched. There are a good handful of classic horror movies that I have not seen. So maybe next year I'll watch some horror movies and be like, okay, so here are my first impressions of some of these movies. Do you guys want to see that? Let me know. We'll find out next year. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the top 5. It's going to be spread out across 5 videos. Number 5, I'm not sure when it's going to get released, but it is going to get released most likely in the next 7 days. Thank you guys for watching, and remember, the story is always right. Bye, guys.